It's always easy to get back out. 7:04. Let's keep it going here with the Department of Labor. David Dell'Isola, of course, the director. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. How are
How's
you
the
guys doing
day?
today?
We're doing pretty good. Of course, I know you guys have processed. I saw some. How many applications are you guys processing right now, Dave?
About 14,500.
Okay. So actually processed and ready to
Those
go?
are those are initial claims that have been put into the system successfully.
Okay,
Right.
so they
Some
still
have
need
issues.
need to
Some
be
have,
vetted.
Right.
some have to be vetted. Some have technical user errors in it that need to be cleaned up. But so we're chipping away at those.
Dave, I know that there was and I don't know what the soft launch of the website, and people had found out the application was online. A lot of people applied that weekend, and I know that the warning was that because it wasn't fully stood up and you guys are still working out the bugs in the system, that it could lead to errors in the application. So have we seen a lot of errors from the people who applied over that first weekend, Dave?
You got a mix. There was a lot of good applications, and then you had people that did have some errors, and so it was a mixed bag. A lot of it was, again, user errors, and that was one of the things that we needed to kind of take a look at the system and how it works. It's a UI program, so it's very different than what anybody is used to seeing on Guam. So a lot of the questions were foreign to people when they were applying, so they might have checked off the wrong boxes and stuff. And there's a few programmatic glitches that were there when you launch anything that complicated, that you want to get it a chance to run it through the paces and see what you might encounter. And most of those things have been worked out. But it was live. It was not. I just wanted to get a look and run through some test cases before people start applying. But live is live, and that was the only way that we could really take a look at the final product was to let it go live quietly.
Right. We had a comment here from Rosemary. Dave, when calling the 3 numbers for sit-down application assistance to set up an appointment, are clients expected to wait for a return call, or do they still call in after leaving messages on voicemail?
There's voicemail. That the phones have just been going off the hook nonstop. They're supposed to get appointments.
Okay.
And the thing with our phone systems up at GCC is that they don't have a busy signal. So when everybody's on the line, it just keeps ringing, and it gives that impression that nobody's answering the phones when, in fact, everybody is on the phone taking care of customers.
Okay, so there's no voicemail.
Not that I know of.
Okay. And again, if you're calling and it just keeps ringing, that's because the operators are on the line.
Yes, all the operators are busy taking calls, and it just kind of keeps going around until somebody hangs up, and then somebody will pick up, or just keeps queuing.
Can you provide more information to people that are listening about what's standing up next week on Monday with the appointments? Because I know that you also have hours that are going to be set aside for Manumco and people with disabilities.
Yeah, next week we're trying to stand up to appointment in-person processing at GCC. This week we're working on doing call-in applications. So people that had appointments are calling in, and we're trying to do a clean application over the phones, and that's giving them additional training on what to look for, how to answer questions, and what kind of problems they're facing with the people, and that way they get a little bit more experience before they see them on in person. So yes, next week starts the appointments for walk-in applications, and then we also start the roaming library satellite sites.
Right.
Yeah, if you could
and those have been published.
Dave, just real quick, another question on the comments here. Can you ask Dave about people who receive PPP loans but still had their hours reduced? Are they able to receive the loan and then apply for any unemployment to cover the reduced hours, Dave?
What you do is when you get PPP and it's for reduced hours, you have to put that in for your weekly income.
Right.
So that weekly income, that dollar amount will be, that's where you compare it to the 494. If you're making less than 494, then you get the difference between the PUA and then you get the FPUC. So you, as with any income for that week, when you're doing your weekly certifications, you put PPP in for your, as income, as if it's a paycheck, and then the system will calculate if you're still, can get assistance or if you went over the threshold.
Right. And then there was another comment here. Will we be notified if there's an error or mistake on our application?
It depends on the mistake or the error. Some are internal errors that flag into our system, and some are, of course, errors that they will see. So it depends on the errors.
Right. But I mean, if
sometimes they have a clean application, but there may be discrepancies or something that the system flags out for us to look at, just to verify whether or not something is right. Like when you go in and you put in your name and you put in your social security number, one of the common mistakes is that it talks to the employer module, that the employers came in and put in all the employees.
right.
And when you, in application, a box will come up and it'll list like 7 employers, and you're supposed to select your employer. It's kind of an integrity module that's built in. So, like I said, if you find that you see your company that you select, then you select that company, and it kind of verifies, okay, yes, you actually work for that company, and the employer put in the that your name in it. But you'd be surprised how many people select the wrong company.
Right.
And it could be for various reasons. Maybe you're working for Smile Mart, and it could be a corporate name of Joe Jim's Corporation, and you don't know that it's DBA Smile Mart or something like that.
Yeah.
But so that just flags us, and then we just got to kind of look into the app and just verify that. And it's not too hard to verify that they just selected the wrong employee.
I guess what the gist of the comment is, are we going to be able to avoid a situation where I apply and my application just sitting there, a month goes by, then I call in and it's like, oh yeah, there was a mistake on your app? Or are you guys being proactive when you do the vetting to call the people and be like, yeah?
We're being fair. We only call the people if it's necessary to verify the information of the discrepancy.
Okay.
So sometimes we've had people put in just wrong information,
right,
or check the wrong box. And depending on if you remember, you're self-certifying that the information is true and correct.
Yeah.
So some instances, if we have to change or it needs to be changed, then we have to call that person up and visibly get their authorization to change and make sure that answer is the correct answer to be changed to. So it all varies. If it's just a minor glitch or they checked something wrong and we can see based on their answers that it's just they checked it wrong, we'll go ahead and fix it and move it forward.
We also have another question. For those that applied and there were no issues at all, how long is the process time to receive? I know we talked about the 21 days standard.
Yes, and at 8 o'clock this morning, I have a meeting with the software vendor and myself and with DOA, and we're going through the payment process and trying to finalize what is needed to get that module put in place, and also start moving all those files into a payroll to be paid. There's a process to vet them through, and so that we can verify each one that's getting paid and then move that to DOA. So we're going to work on that today, this morning in about 45 minutes, and I should have a pretty good picture by then to see where we're going to be at as far as a timeline for the possibility of getting payments out.
I'm sorry. Could you go back? You're waiting for to stand up another module to
Well, it's not a
pay check.
module. It's the payment section of the program. It'll automatically batch the file in a CSV file and move it for to DOA. That file needs to be set up perfectly so that DOA can then draw the funds down and then take that file, give it to the bank, and then they will do an EFT to all those people. And then there's another imaging file that is used for printing the checks.
Is this
And
a
those
further?
are all getting
Is this a further delay, Dave, or is this something that you guys are doing parallel to?
parallel.
I see.
In parallel. And it's something that was, we were working in phases because, it just made sense that we start the application process, and then now that we got the application process moving, that we finalize the payment process and how it's going to look and the files and all that stuff. So I'm hoping we can get that done very soon.
It's not a hot mess, right, Dave? We got a comment here. It sounds like a hot mess.
No, it's just a huge undertaking, and when you have such a Goliath task,
Right.
you have to break it into pieces and manage it. People still just don't understand. This is all being done in 2 months, and I'm not making any apologies for this gigantic program and cramming it into 2 months, and there may be little bit of problems and bugs and things like that. This is just not the way you would normally set up a UI program. And of course there's going to be mistakes and delays. I'm still under a quarantine.
Right.
I'm still trying to do all this stuff. And I understand everybody just wants to get the money and all this stuff, but I'm dealing with, hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's got to be done right, or they're just going to swoop down and stop the program.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, we had a comment again from the voicemail thing. The lady said that she had left a voicemail and that she called and the voice mailbox is full. So I don't know if you want to check on that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's a little too much into the weeds that I don't.
Right. Yeah. Maybe your tech
get to,
guy
but-
or OTech or something.
Mhm.
Hey, Dave,
Yeah,
can you
I
clarify?
can take care of that.
There was a little back and forth between the congressman and the labor oversight of the legislature, Senator Regine Bisco Lee, and it all kind of stemmed from the congressman coming out and saying, "Oh, if employers don't register on the employer module, that somehow it's going to affect the employee's ability to file for unemployment benefits." But if I'm not mistaken, we've had you on the show, well, I'm not mistaken about us having you on the show basically every week ever since the COVID. But I thought you were very clear in saying that it doesn't matter if the employers file or not.
It doesn't stop the claim. And the whole thing, what I'm trying to put in place is what USDOL is already jumping down all the states, is the program integrity, and trying to make sure that the claims that go in are strong, and if audited, they move forward, they don't get delayed. And the whole thing about the employers putting in their employees' information in there, so when those employees come in, they put in the Social Security, it talks to that module, and it helps verify the claim as that person does work for this company, and it strengthens it. And therefore, we can just push it forward without it being verified manually, if you kind of know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All these extra integrity measures go a long way whenever we talk to USDOL. And if you just Google some of the stuff, hundreds of millions of dollars are being stolen by these internet fraud rings that are gone in that have used the Experian or the Equifax breach, and they're putting in real people's information with real people's social securities, putting in real files and using fake debit cards or accounts, and these monies are going straight over to these people. And their USDOL is starting to clamp down and asking, what kind of integrity are you building into the system? What can you do to make sure that we don't do that? We're doing a couple things. Some things I don't want to say because it would kind of show your poker hand, but we're putting things into the payment side. We're doing things like the employer module. We're asking for additional IDs and support documents. These are all things that strengthen the integrity of the program and then the claim, so that people will just go through smoothly to the payment process.
Mm-hmm.
There's always people that are going to try to take advantage of the money and put in false claims, and that's why you self-certify so much, and you're going to be held to it.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to kind of get an idea. We've seen some people that have come in and have actually put in different social security numbers and put in different bank accounts, but they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of starting to see people that are trying to test the integrity of the system.
Mm. I did want to follow up on something the Republican Party of Guam had put out regarding the salaries and the hiring of these customer service representatives, administrative assistants, and the salaries for some of them $163,000, and that's with benefits $150,000. Administrative
distraction.
Mm-hmm.
What a distraction that was. I guess they like to do their investigations through the media instead of asking me directly.
Well, let's just ask you directly then, Dave. Who?
Ask me directly.
Yeah, who was hired, and do you believe the salaries are justified for this program?
Yes. The salary, first of all, like my program manager, who I handpicked because she's running basically a $1 billion program like this, and she's working nonstop, is $61,000. And that's their annual salary.
But then it's Dave. Does it seem inflated because it's prorated over 18 months? Could that be maybe why?
Well, they did it. Instead of asking me what it is, it makes it sound worse than what it is. You have to remember, when we were putting together a budget, we were doing this in the height of the quarantine, and we had no idea the extent of this quarantine, the length of time that this was going to do. So we had to run a program with the possibility that we were going to be, God knows how bad this was going to be. So when you put together a budget, you got to guess, okay, the worst. You got to put in the hazards pay, the overtime pay, the length, 18 months, and these are all guesstimates. And of course, we vetted up to USDOL, and they work with us. They see the salary levels, they see the qualifications that we're asking for of the individuals, and they vet it out, and they were fine with it. So yes, you see 18 months, not 12 months. You see overtime and hazardous pay when we didn't know how long. It could have been for the whole program, or it could be for parts of the program, but you have to budget for the highest number, because if you don't use it, it's no big deal. But if you spend more than the budget, that's a different story. So of course, everybody's overinflated because you don't want to have to go back and ask for more money, because we'd have no idea. I mean, just try to put together a budget in the latter part of March, when you were trying to figure out all this stuff, how to put together a program. Everything was brand new. So we just had to make assumptions, and the assumptions had to figure the worst case scenarios, plan for that, and hope for the best. And that way you have a lot of money. And that's, to me, the best way to do it. Don't you agree?
Well, first I just wanted to go back to what you said about how you handpicked your program manager.
So you don't agree with that method?
Well, I want to ask you about handpicking people. So was everybody handpicked for these positions? No, she
was the only one that I handpicked.
And this is Kathleen Pareto, right, we're talking about?
Yeah,
okay.
She was the one that works with me. I, of course, had several people in mind. A lot of the people at that time didn't want to stand up to, they were concerned about working during COVID, and, their families and their kids. Some of them had Manuncos living with them. So that was always the biggest challenge, was finding willing and able people to work during a COVID when it was just so brand new.
Dave,
And,
in my FOIA, I saw that there was a Noah Pareto hired for this program. Is that Kathleen's son? Is there anything?
that's not for this program.
Or is he working at the department, or what can you tell us about that?
He's not working. I think he's working over at the AJC under a thing, but he's not. Has nothing to do with the PUA program.
So basically,
And,
his mom got him in, or just a separate thing?
No, he went in on a separate thing, applied, and we hire a lot of people down at the AJC. I mean, that's what we do.
Right. Yeah.
There's and we're still looking for about close to 200 more people for to help with the recovery. So I'm telling everybody, if you're interested in working, please submit your application and down at the AJC, and we will be glad. We're trying to get people up and hired. It's been a little bit of a challenge. I didn't think it would be a challenge, but it is getting kind of a challenge. Some people, of course, don't want to work because they got the PUA benefit,
Right.
and some people don't want to work because of the working. This is for PUA recovery.
So for the American Job Center, that's the traditional way of getting hired. It's not handpicked.
Yeah, no, you just go traditionally hired down there. I mean, we get thousands of applications, but not only for just normally unemployed people that have been displaced, and for a number of different ways. We even for this PUA program, I was able to pull a couple of work experience that are under the AJC, and we moved them over to the PUA program.
Right.
To get them additional experience, and hopefully the kind of experience that can move them into a permanent job.
Dave, is the
So
handpicking of Kathleen, is this an instance where this is a woman that you've worked with at the department already? Do you have an existing working relationship, and you were just confident that she has the experience to run $1 billion program?
That's correct.
Okay.
Oh, she was a GDOL employee.
She was an existing
and
GDOL.
she went, because I
think she was an ASO at the court, and then
And she resigned
she was
suddenly.
also a staffer for Senator Pito.
Was she?
I want to say no.
I don't know.
No,
I don't think so.
yeah.
I don't
It's
think
a
so.
familiar name. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know all the background,
Right,
but she's a very capable employee, and she's been working very hard with me side by side, along with a lot of my core people at the department that have been standing up this program.
How many 18-month employees were brought on board for with the federal funding?
Probably, give or take one or two, maybe like 29.
20, okay.
And
Was a job announcement put out, or did they have to apply? There was no rules about applying for the positions or announcing that these positions were available?
No, we took the existing applications that we had at the AJC. I took the existing applications that were submitted at the transition team. So I had
transition team. What transition team?
During the transition, when we were moving in, there was, I don't know, hundreds of applications that were submitted.
You mean transition when
we were
Josh
moving in,
took office?
Yeah,
I see.
I went through a lot of those applications.
Remember they did a call for applications.
Call for application.
Right.
So during a quarantine, it doesn't really make sense to advertise when you're stuck at home. So it was a lot easier to go through my own applications that we had submitted, that we continue to get at the AJC. People don't realize that's half of what we do.
It just kind of
we
sounds
receive applications.
Right. It just sounds fishy, Dave. I'm sure
but
you've been around
could put an
the block.
application out online, and people could submit an application online.
I mean, Dave, it just kind of looks like you've handpicked and it's a party thing. I mean, that's how it looks. So, but you're saying it's not.
I can't. I'm not gonna. During the quarantine, there was only 29 positions. It wasn't difficult to get more than enough applications that we needed. I mean, if I was hiring 200, 300 people, that would be a different story. But finding 29, and we still had to vet through a lot of applications to find people who were, like I said, were willing and able to be hired in for this program, and we were moving at such a quick pace that
pretty good salary though. I don't know if you advertised those positions with those salaries. I'm pretty sure you would have got a big response. But again, I can see what you're saying, the timeline of it, and you want to work with people that
Thank you.
You know, I get it.
What about the employees that were on detail there? Are they getting any additional pay?
The only additional pay that they get is a hazardous. That is when they are working with the public. That's standard government wide. Right. Nobody else is getting anything additional.
How about these?
With our staff that we hired, they get. They're all in the pay scales of DOA, and they get the exact same payments as Guam as far as hazardous pays when they are exposed or working with the public.
Okay, and just can we get a list of these 18-month employees?
Sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Hey, Dave. So, like, in the case of someone like Kathleen Pareto, who was an existing DLL, I think she was a special projects coordinator, right? So
program coordinator,
something like that.
Right? Yeah.
So now that she's the program manager for the FPUC and the PUA, is she still getting the DOL salary on top of the FPUC and PUA? No.
Of course not.
I'm just checking. You know, hey, I've seen Stranger Things, Dave.
I know, but
yeah.
I'm you guys remember, I'm Department of Labor. I try to lead by example. No, she moved from local funds to the federal funds. So she freed up some of my money in my budget over on my DOL side. And when that's completed, she will move back into her position that she was vacated.
She's making more money in the federal job?
Maybe only like a couple thousand, not much more.
Mm-hmm.
You have to match the program title and the qualifications of what they're doing, the duties and responsibilities. Mm-hmm. And that's what we laid out, and that's what we run by USDOL, and that's what they proved, when we submitted our budget.
Dave, I guess last question here. Does the 21-day number you gave us, and to be fair, you said that was a timeline that's in the program process, but you did say that you were going to try and do it faster. But does that 21 days?
Still working on that.
Right. Does that?
I am going to try my best. There's so many moving parts to this thing. This program is so exhaustive. But we're going to get a good idea after this morning's meeting, conference call, laying everything out, and hopefully we can put together a timeline. And I'm still shooting and still trying to keep with that ideal that I'm going to try to deliver it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, but at this point, right now, no claims have been approved, right?
No, they're all sitting in a file that they're clean claims. So we have to then process those claims and to move them into a payment file. I'm not an ASO, but I'm kind of layman terming it here for you. But there's a processing step from. There's a lot of claims, and we're planning to set up and we're laying out the system, how it's supposed to be laid out, the file, so that it can be moved over to DOA once that processing is done, and it's already laid out in the form for them to simply use that dollar amount, draw down the money, and take that file, move it to the bank for an EFT, and then there's another file that's like a check imaging file. That's what they use for cutting the check. I do want to tell you that I'm pretty happy with it's about 11-to-1 ratio of bank accounts to checks that we're noticing. So the call out that you guys have been doing about getting bank accounts instead of trying to do checks seems to be working fairly well. And
let us know if you're hiring next time, Dave, and we can do a call out for people to come apply.
We're hiring, so please come down to the AJC and put in those are for people who have been displaced by the COVID. So if you're unemployed and it's because of the COVID, then please come down and put in your applications down at the AJC.
Right.
DOL is hiring, or you're
Yes.
okay.
That's
No,
from,
no,
is that
the
from the
AJC.
federal?
You're,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's from the federal.
Well, I'm DOL and the AJC's under me.
Right.
Right.
But this is not, so this is part of the program.
Right.
All those, the people that are on the program were hired for the program.
Right. How much did you guys get for that again, Dave? I want to say it was like 20
Well,
million for the program, the jobs program at AJC.
I don't.
Because I remember it was just it was a smaller award, I think in the tens of millions of dollars or something, right?
No, I think for my program, I only got like 1.7 million.
Okay.
I'm thinking, but I don't know. I don't want to say when I don't know.
We'll follow up with you.
I think 20 million was for the overall administrative costs
I see.
to stand up the whole program. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and again,
Out
sorry.
of the 924 million.
Okay, just one more time, just for complete clarity. You have clean claims, right? Correct?
Yes.
Okay, and but
they
they're not
are-
yet approved until the paycheck folder program is approved? And then once that's
Well,
approved, the
they're,
21-day timeline kicks in.
When you say approved, they're clean and they're ready. And all we're going to do is move them into a payment file, and
Right.
we're going to quickly go over them to make sure there's no duplicate names, that there's no issues with it, and then we were,
So they're clean,
before we do
ready
that, we
for
need to make
approval.
sure that for check writing, you guys keep saying there's an approval when they're the system auto adjudicates it,
Okay.
and that means like it already batches it for a clean claim with no issues,
Okay.
and then we go in there and we need to look at all those claims to make sure, because it can't tell if somebody used the same two names with two different social security numbers.
Right.
Or, we're looking also, are they using a foreign bank? There's all kinds of different things that we need to go in to look at those clean claims before we move them to check, to make sure, to look at what kind of fraud that could be in those thousands and thousands of claims.
Mm-hmm.
That's additional vetting that we want to do.
Okay.
To make sure that Chris Barnett didn't put in his two claims and didn't put in different social security numbers, and didn't use a Nigerian bank account.
Mm-hmm.
I
So
can-
how
I can
many
explain.
clean claims are there so far? Again?
14,500 are total claims in.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say about, and that's a good point. Let me just make this one. About, 5,000-6,000 are all have the similar mistake, and that's what I wanted to make sure that you get out. The whole definition of unemployment. If you can please make sure that people, when they're putting in a claim, if you're returned back to work and you're at reduced hours, you're still considered unemployed. And when you do those weekly claims for that week, if you're working, then you don't check that you're employed. You check that you're unemployed if you're reduced hours. So if you're returned to work at your normal hours, then that's the time that you're considered unemployed. And then the first date you were affected, as far as unemployed, that means the first date that you were either laid off or reduced in hours. So if you were initially reduced in hours back in March 15th and then eventually laid off in April, the first date that you were unemployed would be March 15th, when you were reduced in salary. So those are kind of the UI terms that people aren't familiar with to understand, and that's where they have clean claims, but they have those little boxes that are not checked correctly that we need to go in and fix.
All right. So
And so please remember, unemployed means reduced hours laid off, or furloughed.
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
So
okay.
14,500 claims filed. About 5,000 to 600 may have some errors. So we're looking at about 8,000 claims that are clean that DOL will still need to vet, and we're still waiting for the paycheck process or check cutting process to be approved, and then the 21 days kicks in.
To be laid out.
Right.
Check processing to be laid out
Right.
into a proper format.
So once
That,
once that's completed,
yeah, we're ready
and the
to roll.
vetting is completed with the 8,000 claims that you have to date,
Yeah.
then you'll be ready, and the 21 days will kick in after that.
No. Once you submitted a
So the clock is
clean
ticking,
claim,
in other
that
words.
stops already. The
Okay.
clock's been ticking.
Okay.
The clock's
Okay.
been ticking since we went soft live that weekend.
Since people submitted their claims,
Submitted successful claim.
clean.
That clean claim.
Okay.
That's when the clock clicks on that claim.
Got it.
If they have a problem or there's an issue to it, then it doesn't tick, of course, because we have to try to rectify those problems depending on what that problem is.
I think some
But
people
we're
would,
making progress.
yeah, I think some people would argue that the clock's been ticking since they lost their jobs.
Well,
I know you're moving
and,
quick.
you know, I feel that.
Right. I
Thank
feel
you
yeah.
for. I don't know. Is that a compliment or is that a?
It
I
is
think
what
it's more
it
like
is.
a understanding.
It's a statement, Dave.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. You said good
Okay.
job, but do it faster.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna let you go because I know you got that 8
Like
o'clock
that.
thing. Right.
Thank you very much.
All
Yeah,
right, take
appreciate it,
care.
Dave.
Appreciate talking to you.
Of
Okay.
course,
Wash
Wash
always.
your hands.
Yeah,
All right.
wash your hands.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, right on. Oh, there you go, Dave Dell'Isola, of course, Department of Labor.
Yep, 14,000. I think you said 14,500 claims filed online. There are about 5,000 to 6,000 that may have some errors, and then 8,000 that are